Antonia Novello is the first Latina to have been the Surgeon General of the United States of America. She received the Dolores Huerta Award at the United States Hispanic Leadership Institute conference.
There are awards and then there are awards. In my professional life, I have been privileged to have been at times presented with so many prestigious awards. Some have been politically motivated and others I have won because of personal successes. But the Dolores Huerta's Women of Courage Award, in my view, is totally different from the others. Not only it is given for commitment to social and economic justice, but the recipients of this prize are exemplary in the eyes of their peers for civil and human rights, and especially women's rights as well. To have been nominated in itself is an honor. To have given it, it is beyond comprehension. But as Mark Twain said, it is better to deserve honors and not to have deserve them than to get them and not know who in the world proposed you for it. I don't know if this award today is well deserved. I only know that it has occurred at a time in my life when I have been very involved in the aftermath of the Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, trying to help all the families of Puerto Rico, and it is at this time that I'm able to understand what courage and Dolores Huertas is all about. For making me feel honored and trusted with this award, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I swear I will not disappoint you. Do not assume that I will use this moment just to say thank you and go over and over. You don't know me. Mark Twain said, good judgment comes from experience, and where those experience comes from bad judgment. So today I want to share with you some things that are going to add some knowledge, some will add passion, and some others will guide you, and especially for women, for your future. When I was Surgeon General, I learned many things. I learned that the world loves you but owes you nothing. To believe that the world is going to treat you good because you're a woman or the Surgeon General is like believing that a bull is not going to hate you because you're a vegetarian. I also learned that having a vision is tremendously important because you do not know where you're going. You are already there. I also learned that service is the rent we pay for living, and that service will set you apart. Service to God, service to country, and service to community. But more than anything, I learned that when you get to the top of your ladder, you don't forget your language, your culture, or where you came from. Everything that we Hispanics must do to improve the lives of the future generation must be done with great care for our traditions and for our culture. For how can we expect to raise our children to honor our customs and traditions and the cultural traits if we lose our identity and self-respect? Talking about not forgetting, let's remember that it was a hot July evening in 1848 when the chapel in Seneca Falls in New York echoed the words that are still changing the world. A 32-year-old Elizabeth Cady Stanton said, "Women have no voice in government, no vote on elections, no place in higher education, no equality in divorce law, and no right to keep the wages that she earns. And this she conspired, destroys the self-confidence of her powers, lessens her self-respect, and makes her willing to lead a dependent and abject life." It was that on July 19, 1848, that women met to discuss the Declaration of Sentiments in Seneca Falls, New York. This document put forth a very controversial idea at the time that we women would be given the right to vote. And achieving such a goal needed a change in the US Constitution, and that amendment did not occur until 72 years later in 1920, when for the first time women were able to vote in the United States, but we were not the first country. It was New Zealand in 1893. But thanks to this convention, in the little town of Seneca Falls, women's suffrage movement started. And it was the Declaration of Sentiments signed by 68 women and 32 men, including the abolitionist Frederick Douglass, that affirmed a very good earlier revolution, the one that said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all women and all men are created equal." Having accomplished that 98 years ago, let us know where we have been, where we are, and where do we need to go from here. Because friends, it is clear that we have stopped. We need an agenda in which both equality and respect are still demanded. 98 years ago, we must remind the world that the growing strength of the woman is in her forehead, not in her forearm. Therefore, If we are to succeed in the years ahead, let's unite in putting an end to damaging stereotypes, stifling policies, and lack of opportunities to promote women to get where they deserve. As Margaret Thatcher said, when you come into politics, if you set out to be liked, you will be prepared to compromise on everything and anything, and you will accomplish nothing. So this morning, as America's first female, first Hispanic Surgeon General of the United States, I'm terrifically proud to share my thoughts with you because there will be no compromises. Remember, the only time that a woman is helpless is when her nail polish is drying. To start, we are 159 million women in the United States, and we have said, I want to set priorities, I want to be relevant, I want to live well, be healthy, look good, feel good. I want to get more done in one day. I want to take care of myself and my family. I want to be what is mine, and more than anything, I want a pantyhose that does not run. But in reality, women want to remind you that it's hard to be a woman because you must think like a man, act like a lady, look like a younger version of yourself, and work like a horse. Colleagues, in spite of the best intentions of many, and although we have come a long way, we still have a world in which, as I said before, women earn less than a man for the same work. Women are still being torn between career and children, and women are still trying to live up to the potential in the workplace that is still designed around other people's rules and other people's needs. Let me give you an example. In 2012, in this United States of America, a man made $49,000, the woman made $37,000 for doing the same job. These statistics do not prove discrimination, but they should at least raise some eyebrows. But the disadvantage for women does not stop there. Do you know that we spend 11.5 years of our lives taking care of our family members, and in some cases even of our mother-in-law that used to hate us? This means that women's capacity to earn is even less than men during the lifespan of their career. This translates into a reduced income in their retirement years, with women receiving an average of $500 less in Social Security than men. Ladies, remember that this inequality in benefits places us at a terrific disadvantage in our retirement years, when virtually the income of most of us women is 3 out of 10, 65 and older, depend on their Social Security check. This demographic shift in the elderly will bring not only a crisis in the entitlement benefits of the United States, but we women must take a central part of the struggle, because we will do most of the suffering and doing most of the caring. It's at times like this that I realize that we women face so many challenges. While retaining our pride without lingering at the altar of personal ambition, we must transform without transgressing, share without imposing, and integrate without interrupting. But experience tells me that women of all cultures, the careers, and social classes have those characteristics in abundance, and such characteristics are traditionally not given room for expression or for reward. Something has to change. For most women, the main problem is learning to say no without feeling guilty. So let's remind the world, today almost 60% of women work outside the house. If women didn't work, the family income will drop by 32%. Women who are part of a dual career couple are out earning their husbands at an unprecedented rate. Currently, 18% of married women makes $5,000 more than their husband. And if you live in sin, houses without partners, 22% of women earn more than the man and hold higher educational degrees. But ladies, never, never. So, an advice, never, never marry for money. In the long run, it's easier to borrow. And how about the house engineer? What if women that work at home get paid for what they do? Almost 53% of women stay at home today and do not go to work. Women that work from home work close to 92 hours per week, doing a minimum of 10 jobs. Executive housekeeper, chef, facilities manager, network administrator, psychologist, taxi driver, janitor, laundry manager, accountant, event planner, groundkeeper, nutritionist, run staff house, photographer, tailor, coach, van driver. Even when the women work at home, Even when the woman works at home, deserves the same pay that women that work outside of the home. The salary.com said stay-at-home moms would earn $134,000 annually for all they do, and working moms should earn $85,000 for the portion of work they do when they come home. The company reported that overall women work an average of 90 hours a week, whether they are working at home or working outside. So ladies, let's start getting paid for what we deserve, whether at home or outside of home. There are women business owners that make up 48% of all the privately held businesses in the United States today, generating 19.1 million jobs and contributing more than $2.5 trillion in sales to the nation's economy. Señores, más respeto, más respeto. As these figures attest, we need more respect and less patronizing of women in business. Remember, all women are beautiful, but when we add beauty combined with brains, obviously we become a lethal combination. So my friends, we're here this morning to tell the world women can do anything they want. Women can dream of greatness. Women are able to take risks, and women can be assertive and still be feminine. To paraphrase a sticker I read, women who behave well don't make history. Currently, we are 325 million people in the United States. 159 million are women, including 67,000 who are past the age of 100. But let's forget that long time ago, we didn't have any privilege in this country before 1920. So let's go back 98 years and remember, who would have thought in 1872 that Susan B. Anthony and 12 other women were arrested and convicted of illegally voting in that year's presidential election? Well, ladies, today, according to the US Census, women have voted at higher rates than men in every presidential election since 1980. Chupen en eso. In 2012 presidential election, it was estimated that 56% of eligible women voted, compared to 44% of eligible men, 10 million more. And additionally, who would have thought that in 1917, when 100 women were jailed for picketing in front of the White House, that today we can go in that place whenever we want? And who would have thought that in 1925, when Nellie Ross replaced her deceased husband as governor of Wyoming to become the first woman to hold state executive office in America, that today, 98 years later, we have had 6 women governors, 11 lieutenant governors, 2 attorney generals, 3 secretaries of state, 4 women Supreme Court justices, 21 women senators, 84 women in the House of Representatives, 1,700 women serving as state legislators, 245 women mayors of cities with populations over 30,000, more than 61% women presidents of colleges and universities. And in the world, we have 10 women presidents, 1 woman chancellor, and 10 women prime ministers, like Nancy Astor used to say. We women are not looking for superiority, for we have always had it. They were looking. All that we're asking is for equality. But in spite of all that, when we women reach the pinnacle of success, they are often pegged as lucky. Despite the fact that we work so hard to get what we respectfully deserve, for me, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So the harder you work, the luckier you will become. Sweat will always rule over preparation. And as Margaret Thatcher said, maybe the rooster that crows, but it's the hen who lays the eggs.
All right.
I think we must continue the revolution that will improve the lives of future generations. For this future endeavor, we're going to need leadership and character. That character that remains even when the spotlight has been turned off. The applause has died down and there's no one to give you credit. Colleagues, if that's the characteristics of character, we women have it in droves. Today, like men, we're supposed to be married to the job, while still expected as a woman to be traditional wives and mother, and then in the interim, be accused of being bad mothers and bad wives, while trying to be like men. It's no wonder that many of the most brightest of today's young women are choosing to interrupt their careers, choosing the path of tradition rather than the career path, afraid that they might be judged, that they are not really caring for their families. A survey at Harvard Business School found that 31% of women graduates work only part-time and another 31% did not work at all. The truth is that women in our country have been given the opportunity for a full-time work without the social supports to sustain a successful career. In addition, motherhood is the center of our lives. However, it carries an enormous economic burden. Penalties that mothers earn less than any other women do, even when they control for marital status, experience, and education. According to some economists, motherhood results in a 7% penalty per child. And the flip side is that large population of women who stay on track in their careers are forced to give up families, and those who opt for family are forced to give up their careers. Colleagues, society cannot afford to have a quarter of the female talent pool forced out because of motherhood. In 2000 census, it showed that 22% of all women with professional degrees were not in the labor force. Eso tiene que cambiar. It's not acceptable. Women should be entitled to a multidimensional life equal to men. And at the end, we women simply want choices in the worksite that men have taken for granted forever. So many of us in the professional sphere have gotten to the top of our life by sacrificing sleep, cutting back on personal time, reducing leisure activities, suffering from physical exhaustion, anxiety and depression, marital difficulties, lack of time for family and children, and poor health in favor of faxes, phones, tweets, meeting and difficult assignments, and for what? Even though our work week is close to 70 hours, there's no extra monetary compensation. And worse, there's no time left to nurture relationships, including the time with our children. Our success as women throughout life has been based on consistently exceeding performance expectations, making them always look easy. Not to mention adjusting our personal style so as not to threaten our male colleagues. And even worse, if you happen to be intelligent. The reality is that we are not supposed to be attractive, smart, assertive, or even sexy if we want to succeed. Remember, the greatest obstacles in our life are not the ones we encounter from the outside. It's the ones that we have within. It's not discrimination on equal pay and testosterone. It's fear, it's pride, it's fantasy, it's the lack of mentors, unconscious stereotypes, underdeveloped skills, and stifled, unrecognized creativity. The reality is that, as I said before, despite the large numbers of women working, the gender bias and the lack of organized talent still remains the greatest deterrent to women achieving their fullest potential. When male colleagues have been asked, why do women do not advance? Most women attributed the progress and the lack of it to the lack of business knowledge and development and problems with the work-life balance. When women instead were asked the same, they said it's because we are excluded from the informal networks, we don't have opportunity, we don't have mentors, and we don't have support services. Ladies, it's not the lack of ambition that is keeping women out. Instead, it has more to do with the fact that women continue to remain outside the informal networks where promotional opportunities get offered. I think we should be able to go less to the mall and start taking golf. Seems to be the only place where you can get them alone. Now, therefore, our greatest hope for true long-lasting professional equality lies in recruiting, training, and retaining women, and then demanding that women are treated as equals, encouraged by schools, propelling to academic excellence by universities, recognized by their male counterparts, and appointed to positions of decisions under merit equal to men. As it has been said, a man's got to do what a man's got to do, and a woman must do what he can't. Ladies, the problems that the world faces are too large to solve with only half of the brains at work in this country. Real solutions demand coordinated efforts. Ignoring the talent of half of the human race assures only mediocrity. So I say to you now, what do we do next? We need action, and we need it today. Having said all that, as always, let me share with you 10 points that I share with my friend Deborah Shaw that comes from me in the hope that you will add something to your lives. Number 10. Be a pioneer. Don't be afraid to forge in new directions. And when you think of pioneers, remember Rosa Parks, the seamstress who became the founding symbol of the civil rights movement in the United States and who died not long ago at 92 years of age. Her simple defiance in refusing to give up her seat on a bus changed our country. And after her death, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, speaking on behalf of all African Americans, said, she sat down so that we all can stand up. When you forge in new directions, please remember the Ark was built by amateurs, the Titanic by professionals. Number 9, do not deny your roots. when you walk the ladder of success. For if you deny your roots, you lost your integrity and you have given up your dignity. Nothing is worse because of your integrity, your reputation, or your self-respect, because if you cannot honor your racial, your cultural, your social, and your moral concept inherited from your ancestors, then how can you demand it from the rest? Remember, people without knowledge of their past origin or culture are like a tree without roots. They will fall over. Number 8, never underestimate your capabilities. Someone else will do it for you. Remember, your most worthy efforts will be scorned by your peers, for it is them who suffer most when you excel. So do not squander your energy fighting every little skirmish. You will be depleted when you need to fight the important ones. Remember as well, do you have enemies? Good. It means that you stood for something sometime in your life. Additionally, remember that great people discuss ideas. Average people discuss events, and little people discuss people. Remember as well, the lion doesn't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep. Number 7, achieve the highest level of education because it's the key and the door to opportunity. And we're getting an education, remember, the complete professional must be humble in what he knows and does not know. Socrates said if he was the most intelligent man in Greece, it was because he knew what he did not know. No matter how educated you are, never make a decision unless you understand the issue. And above all, learn to say, I don't know. If used correctly, it will keep you away from many moments of embarrassment. Remember as well, you don't have to be brilliant to be successful. The greatest danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but it is too low and we reach it. Number 6, set goals for yourself, and when doing so, make them realistic and then share them with those who believe in you. In pursuing your goals, whenever you run into a wall, find a way of walking around it if you haven't learned how to knock it down. Lament if necessary, but do not dwell too long on your bad moments, lest they rise to rule your emotions forever. And when you're unhappy on your work, do something about it, otherwise you are the problem, not the solution. Remember, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. As someone used to say, I used to walk in a room and wonder if they like me. Now I walk into a room and wonder if I like them. Number 5, when you get to the top, don't forget you owe something to your peers, your family, and your community. And as a woman, when you get to the top, don't deliver the sermon of equality. Live by it. By that I mean, do not practice this abuse of powers, the likes of withholding information, leapfrogging through hierarchy, displacement of deserving professionals, unfilled promises, and inequality of salaries. None of this should be used to keep a woman down, especially when the boss is a woman like me. Equally as important, do not forget that being a leader is often a very lonely job. But if you want to be one, then start preparing for it. But always remember that as a chief achieves greater success, the jealousy others will feel for him will intensify. So please, don't forget to get to the top. You will need to network. You cannot do without network. It is a great way to increase your visibility and give you the insight and the attitudes necessary to break in any field. Number 4, don't be afraid to speak your mind. Remember to first be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind. Remember as well, be more concerned with your character than with your reputation, because your character is what you really are, while your reputation is merely what others think you are. But as my friend Deborah used to say, don't get sucked into being the hero in your own life. Whatever you do, do not use someone else's vision to guide your own. Above all, don't take everything personal. Be factual, not always emotional. Do not repeat the mistakes of your predecessors when you're taking their jobs. Do not let disappointment drag you down, and be assertive without being bullish. Number 3, take care of yourself spiritually, physically, and mentally. Remember, we either make ourselves feel miserable or we make ourselves strong. After all, the amount of time is the same. Remember as well, when it comes to your life, You don't have to get it right all the time. Perfection is not required. There's no reason to be perpetuated the fantasy that you can fix it all, do it all, be it all 24 hours a day. So please, take time for yourself. Read a stupid novel. Take a nap. Have an ice cream without guilt. Get a manicure. Turn your cell phone and dream. And above all, like Dolores would do, practice assertiveness. Don't swallow the words you want to and you need to say. Get accustomed to sticking up for yourself as if you were the only best friend you have. And number 2, never lose your sense of who you really are, even in the presence of those who believe they know you better than yourself. Always be a first-rate version of yourself instead of second-rate version of somebody else. You were born an original, don't you ever die a copy. Remember, but above all, never settle for just looking good, because at the end you will spend your life looking very good but not living very well. And as much to remember, being a lady is like being powerful. If you have to tell people you are, you're not. Number 1, plan big, dream of greatness. Remember, the penalty of success is to be bored by the attention of people who formerly snub you. So no person has the right to rain on your parade. And when the day comes that you arrive to the top, take time to thank God and those that help you get there. Because after all, the best revenge is success. So, as we listen and talk to one another here today and we go about our daily lives tomorrow, let's remember to watchdog the process and participate in the outcome. Above all, let's carry forward the words of women who came before us, like Dolores Huerta, to ensure that our daughters have no limits on their dreams, no obstacles to their achievements, and no remaining ceilings to shatter. So don't play small and don't always wait for your turn. It might never come. Remember, it takes nothing to join the crowd. But like Dolores Huerta, it takes courage to stand alone. Because when you're forced to stand alone, you realize truly what are you made of. So friends, if you stand for a reason, be prepared to stand alone like a tree. And if you fall on the ground, fall like a seed, so that you can fight your way up and grow back to be the best one. So, at this moment, I want to leave you with what I always do. The Yehuda Bauer, the great Holocaust historian, who said it best when he said there should be 3 extra commandments to the 10 that we share with Ali. The first one is thou shalt not be a victim. The second one is thou shalt not be a perpetrator. And the third one is thou shalt not be a bystander. Don't let anyone say that Dolores or anyone who has won this award has ever been a bystander in the lives of their fellow men. Thank you so much, and God.